Hi there, I'm Susan, your host of She Connects. Whether you're tuning in from nearby in my state of Minnesota, across the country, or somewhere around the world, I'm so glad that you are here. With so many outlets of information nowadays, I'm committed to adding value to your life and faith by offering content that helps awaken you to your purpose, align you to biblical truth, and activate you in your God-given gifts. You will hear from me and from time to time guests to the show that I know you will also appreciate hearing from. And now, without further ado, let's dive into this week's conversation. Well, hey, ladies, welcome back to the show. I'm excited that you're here. And if you are not aware, maybe you're new to this corner of the internet. First of all, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. And I pray that you will consider subscribing. A new episode drops each and every Wednesday. But if you are new here, or maybe it's been a while since you've tuned in, I started a couple of months ago doing episodes. I am thinking like maybe once a month on women and wellness and really just taking charge of this area of their lives and just reaching a better place in their health. And so I'm bringing on a few guests to help me in that mission to champion women forward in this area. But I did start that, it's probably been a couple of months ago now, but if you scroll back in the episode, it'll be easy for you to see what that episode is. I can't remember the title of it, but anyway, nonetheless, I'm so excited to have with me Julie Holmquist. She's joining me all the way from North Carolina this week, and she's been on the show before, so I'm excited. It's been a while since she's been here, so I'm really excited to have her back on the show. She's just a gem, and even though I've never met her in person, just following her on social media, she just really is somebody who spurs others forward. I just think that she's such a bold witness in her faith and all the things that matter to her. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Julie. Tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, and anything else that you feel like the listening community want to know right away.
Okay. Well, thank you, Susan, for inviting me back. I am originally from Omaha, Nebraska, living in North Carolina right now. I did not come here with a good attitude. My husband got a job here, and that's a whole different story, but God has turned my heart around, and I really do like Charlotte, but I can't say I love it yet. I'm holding out for that. My husband and I have been married 28 years. We have 4 boys, twins who are 27, and then a 23-year-old who my son has special needs, autism, and is mentally handicapped. And then our surprise caboose is 16, soon to be 17. So yeah, that's just me in a nutshell. I met Susan. Our paths crossed through writing and podcasting and some mutual friends. But she reached out to me after she had seen that God had done something different. I was pursuing a certification in holistic nutritional therapy. So that's what we're going to be talking about today.
I'm so excited. So you had mentioned this is something new that God has called you to do. And so tell us a little bit about how God led you in this way and helping women in their health.
Well, I've always had a fascination with root cause holistic health. Throughout the years, I've dabbled in it. I would attend seminars, or if there was a guest on a radio show that I liked, I would listen. But I would say I dabbled in it. I didn't, live what I knew to be true 100% of the time. But a number of years ago, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune thyroid disorder that my immune system attacks my thyroid. And our thyroids are pivotal to a lot of bodily functions, metabolism being one of them. And I felt like I didn't have any control over this disorder, which no one does, but I kept feeling like I wanted to be God's yes girl to whatever he was asking me to do. But I was afraid because I didn't know when a flare would happen. I didn't know if that would sideline me, set me back with pain in my joints or fatigue. I describe it to my husband like I was trying to run in quicksand. So I was trying to find answers for myself with that. I went to see a functional medicine doctor, and he ran all these tests and showed all the inflammation and all of that. And then he said, if you want to work with me, I paid for the testing, but if you want to work with me, he added it all up. That'll be like $5,000. And I'm like, I can't do that. And I felt helpless and like hopeless. Like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get better? Because my primary care physician at the time didn't necessarily test antibodies, which is how you are diagnosed with Hashimoto's. So I was just button heads with my doctors, and I was like, how am I going to do this? As I kept going on and struggling with those flares, I realized that people that I was following on Instagram, one in particular, she really intrigued me with things that she would post. And I discovered that she attended Nutritional Therapy Association, and that's where I ended up going. But that was around this about the same cost of what it would be to either work with that functional medicine doctor or just go to school and learn myself, learn the big picture, the holistic root cause approach to most anything. So I did that, and I just graduated in May. Some of my family members have chronic diseases, and so I was intrigued by how to help them. And then I mentioned my special needs son, and Susan and I were talking a minute ago, but he's had some behavior issues in the past. And my husband and I were at our wits' end with some of these things. And I'm not proud to say this, but we would bribe him with food sometimes, not carrots. It was like muffins and all of this. And then we woke up and we're like, wait a minute, we're not doing him any favors. We're not setting him up for success for when we're gone. Then there was another pivotal moment in there where I went to Andrew's school, and I was in his class. It's a special needs school, and I went into his classroom, and I was waiting for the teacher to come in, and I was just observing while all the students were eating breakfast. And this one particular kid, I don't remember his name, let's just say Johnny, he was eating his breakfast, and there was like oatmeal, a bagel, a muffin, orange juice, milk, and something else. I mean, it's just all carbs, which, okay, whatever. But then the nurse came over and said, okay, Johnny, it's time for your insulin. And I was like, I left and I just cried. I cried all the way home because I'm like, who's going to take care of him? Now, granted, his mom or his caregiver might be just, burned out or something. This is not how it should be. We should be teaching them how to take care of their bodies properly. So that was kind of my intro into all of this. I kept trying to piece together information because I'm resourceful, but I was just spinning my wheels, and I just didn't feel like I could get enough. So that's when I broached the subject with my husband, and we prayed about it, and we enrolled in a year-long program that is very science and evidence-based, and as well as just experience. The teachers, it wasn't just a self-guided course. We interacted with the teachers who have had, 10 plus years of experience working with different people with blood sugar dysregulation or gut dysbiosis or whatever it was. They had a wealth of experience to share with us. So that's kind of in a nutshell how I came about doing all of this. And I am excited for what God's going to do, because we aren't just physical beings. So God is also tying in the aspect of true health, what that really means. And that is a right relationship with God as the foundation, and then working on the other things.
So good. Isn't it amazing? I mean, you've been serving the Lord all your life, for the most part, and for a very long time anyway.
Yes.
We can at least
Let's just say a very long time.
say that. And it's amazing how God leads us and puts us in situations that he knows that's like, I'm showing you something, I'm awakening something in you, and I'm leading you this way. And I look back in my own life, and I know that there's been times where I would have never thought that. And yet, like, I never thought that God would do this or take me this way. And yet he just knows best. And I just am excited about this new thing that God has called you to do. And so, your last comment, I think, was just a perfect segue into my next question. And that is, one of the biggest things I appreciate about your approach to health and nutrition is that you help women focus on whole health, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically. Why do you feel like that approach is key? Because I think that, there is no shortage of programs, and it's everywhere. Do this, and everybody thinks that they've got the key to breakthrough and all of that. And so why do you feel like this approach is really the best? Why is this the key?
Well, like I just mentioned, we aren't just a physical body. We are spirits housed in a body with a soul. And so God doesn't silo us. We are whole beings, and he cares about every aspect of that. And they are all interconnected. If we are constantly sick, we're not able to give God our best yes. And I'm not talking about sick like you were in a car accident and you are in bed for a while or something. I'm talking about things that are within our control, right? You wouldn't be able to give God your best yes. But also, everything is interconnected. And even in God's word, he talks about envy is like rottenness in your bones. He talks about how the spiritual world sometimes manifests in our physical world. It's like an example, a snapshot of what's going on. So he wants us to be healthy. Now, that cannot be our primary focus. That can easily become, in this industry, health and wellness, that can easily become an idol in someone's life. And we're not striving for perfection, but being obedient to God is huge. And do you mind if I share a couple scriptures that God has been? Okay.
Go for it.
2 Chronicles 14:11 says, Then Asa cried out to the Lord his God, O Lord, no one but you can help the powerless against the mighty. Help us, O Lord our God, for we trust in you alone. It is in your name that we have come against this vast horde. O Lord, you are our God. Do not let mere evil men prevail against you. Asa sought the Lord when it came to his military strategies. Okay. But then in 2 Chronicles 16:12, it tells us that Asa had a disease in his feet. In the 39th year of his reign, Asa developed a serious foot disease. Yet even with the severity of his disease, he did not seek the Lord's help, but turned only to his physicians. So how many of us, so Asa started out well, he sought the Lord for his military strategies, but then when it came to his physical health, he did not seek the Lord. And how many of us, me included, when we have a headache, we have Tylenol right there. When, we're not sleeping well, we might take a pill or whatever, I have found myself not relying as much on the Lord as I should have. And that stuck out to me huge. And then some people say, I've heard this a couple times, that God is more interested in the spirit, in your spirit, your spiritual health. But Isaiah 29:16 says, shall the potter be regarded as the clay, that the thing made should say of its maker, he did not make me, or the thing formed say of him who formed it, he has no understanding. God has all the answers.
Amen.
Spiritually, financially, emotionally, mentally, physically. And he wants us dependent on him instead of dependent on our medications or our supplements or whatever it is. He may guide us to take a Tylenol or guide us to the right supplement, but we need to get that order correct.
I just can't agree with that more. And I think that, I know that I personally take supplements, but I think the thing with supplements is Just my observation. I've been guilty of this too, so I'm definitely not throwing stones. But I think that we have become a culture of everything is quick. We want quick fixes, quick changes,
Yeah.
quick answers. And I mean, if you go to the local big box store, I mean, we have shelves lined with, I mean, any kind of supplement that you could ever think of. I mean, it's mind boggling.
Yeah.
But the thing about supplements is they're meant to supplement your healthy lifestyle. I mean, think about the word supplement. I mean,
Hmm.
just the definition of supplement is to supplement something.
Yes.
It's not the cure, it's not the answer, it's to supplement what you're already doing and what you already have in place. And
And they can also act as a bridge
yes,
or when you are in the process of changing some habits and you want to support that process.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I just have to circle back to your point about going to the Lord and praying about seeking answers and direction about different maybe health issues that we might be having, because in the season that I've been in, my own health took a pretty big hit just because of the nature of being a caregiver, and I was on the road all the time. And so I found myself, I was eating hospital food, and then I was eating fast food, and then I was getting something from the gas station and copious amounts of caffeine. And I mean, I was just trying to survive. I was just
Yeah.
trying to get through the situation. And, when I went to my doctor this year, so March of 2025, for my annual physical. And of course, they always do labs,
Hmm.
and I cried that day when the labs came back, because you could see, you could view your trends. And so in that last year, between physicals and labs, I mean, the blood work doesn't lie. So,
Right.
and I cried that entire day, and I just realized I have got to do something. I have got to right this ship somehow.
Yes.
And it was showing up in other ways. Other things were happening, and I was trying this and doing that, and finally going to the Lord and asking him, God, I'm struggling with, this issue. Help me, like lead me to figure out, either to the right person or to the right information or whatever it is, to help me get over this,
Yeah.
because it was just really affecting my health. And so I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I think that so often he's just waiting for us to ask him. He
Hmm.
knows the answer, and he wants to help us. That's the thing, is he wants to help us. I just love that.
I want to speak to the woman who feels like her health, she's experiencing some poor health things and she doesn't think God wants to help her because she made bad choices.
Yes.
I was there.
Yeah.
Um that God is when we draw near to God, he draws near to us. He doesn't fold his arms and he isn't saying, "Well, you haven't talked to me in a few months, so I'm just going to sit back and you made your bed, now lie in it." No, he
Right.
tells you to pick up your mat and walk. So there's no condemnation and there's always a starting point with him.
Yeah. Yeah, so good. I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I think that that's important to be reminded of, that he's not condemning, he's not pointing his finger, he's not,
No,
waiting with a lecture. There's
right.
no shame here. And I just think that's so good. So thank you for bringing that up. Just in the world and our lives, and we're all at different places in our lives, and, thinking about just all the moving pieces that we each have in our lives. I think that everyone is trying to manage stress in their lives, or at least wants to. Could you explain to us how stress affects our health? And if there are, I think that there are classic signs that we're carrying stress in our bodies.
Course. I first want to give a definition to stress. Stress is not mental anguish That's not the only form of stress. Stress is living a sedentary lifestyle, poor nutrition, eating processed foods, dehydration, oxidative stress, dysbiosis in our gut when the bad microbes are taking over and they outnumber the good ones. Fat storage, joint pain, poor sleep. These are all symptoms that we don't want to medicate because they're trying to communicate something to us. And a good chunk of, I say chunk, I don't know what the percentage is. It's a high percentage, but a lot of people go into the doctor and most of what they're dealing with has the basis of stress related chronic diseases. Stress plays a huge part in a lot of health issues that we deal with today. Stress can cause inflammation, and inflammation is like static on the telephone. Our cells aren't able to communicate as well to one another. They're not able to be effective in the messages they're sending. So one of the things I learned in school was the structural organization of the human body, which is chemicals. That's our bodies take the foods we eat and break them apart into chemicals. The health of the food we eat directly affects the health of the chemicals in our bodies that do their thing, which directly affects the cells in our bodies. So to have healthy cells, we need to be eating healthy, and then tissues, and then organs, and then the organ systems, and then our entire body. But if we go to the foundation of the food we're eating, we can set ourselves up for health instead of disease.
Yeah.
If we start at the basics,
Mm-hmm.
So it stands to reason when one part of us isn't healthy, the downward cascade won't be either. And that also talks about mental health. Right now, there is a lot of studies going on. The medical community is starting to recognize the connection between mental health and our physical health, namely our metabolism and our gut health. One strong voice in that area is Dr. Christopher Palmer. He is working with the medication resistant population, like dealing with anxiety and depression and all of that. God has just created us so amazing in such a way that everything is connected. And so we don't have to feel like I'm at the mercy of XYZ. We have things we can do and put into place. So stress is not just mental anguish. Our bodies even experience stress. Like I mentioned, in school, we were taught to remove the stressors and strengthen the defenses, meaning our defenses are giving our bodies more resources and nutrients to work with. So I don't want people to leave listening to this after this podcast and think all I have to do is get rid of my stress, right? Mm. Like I said, I have a special needs son. I can't get rid of him, nor do I want to, but he's a big source of a lot of my stress. And so God is giving me creative ways to deal with that stress. And one of the ways is physical exercise. I don't love to exercise necessarily, but I love what I feel like afterwards.
Yeah.
Intermittent fasting, the red light therapy. There's good stress and bad stress. Those things are good stress. Those things do cause stress, but the end result is something good, right? Mm-hmm. We lower our heart rate. We become resilient. We're taking care of our body, even though it's causing it to be stressed, but it's good stress. We need to reduce our load of bad stress. I think everyone's by now has heard of the fight or flight response. That's the sympathetic nervous system. That is a stress response. And if we don't find ways to dampen that, and we live with that chronic stress, that does damage throughout our bodies. And that is one thing that I experienced. I was surviving when some of Andrew's behaviors were showing up, trying to survive that. And I just grabbed whatever was available to eat, the oxidative stress. When we have too much oxidation and not enough antioxidants. I always heard that, Susan, but I didn't really know what it meant. In simple terms, it just means one molecule usually has 2 electrons. Oxidative stress is when they only have 1. They should have 2, but they only have 1. And they're going around trying to steal another electron from another cell. And as you can see, once you take one electron from that cell, then that one has to turn around and try to find another electron. But antioxidants come and say, here, have my electron. And it just kind of calms everything down. I was living on caffeine. I lived on caffeine. And one of my clients, I was just talking to her the other day. I looked at her information that she sent me, and she's overweight. She's dealing with a lot of health issues, diabetes and all that stuff. And I noticed she doesn't eat enough. She drinks caffeine like crazy, but she doesn't eat enough. And I told her that, and she was like shocked. She's like, why am I overweight? And I said, because stress will do that to you. Because stress is like, I've got to hold on to everything.
Right.
So yeah, and caffeine, for me, it was raising my cortisol too high.
Yeah.
And so then I wouldn't experience quality sleep later on in the day. And it was just a vicious cycle. But there are things we can do for sure with someone who's dealing with stress. And when I work with clients, they fill out like a 200 plus questionnaire that kind of helps me get to the root cause, helps me look at what systems are being hit the hardest. And then we just kind of start anywhere, because once you start somewhere, everything else is affected too.
Right.
There's no bad place to start.
Right. Right. And that goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast, is God created us as whole beings. Yes. And every area is connected. So if you start with this, it is going to have a ripple effect. I love that. So ladies, make sure that you are looking at the show notes so that you can see how you can connect with Julie in the online space. I know that she would love to help you, however that looks for you, whatever your needs might be. Even just reaching out just to say, hey, I am struggling with this. Do you think that this could be corrected? I mean, just asking that simple question, and that information, how to get a hold of her, how to connect with her is in the show notes. But I want to talk about something that I refer to as non-scale victories, because I think that our health isn't solely based on the scale. Right. And if we base our health on that number, we can easily miss other ways that our overall health and well-being is improving. In your opinion, what non-scale victories can someone achieve as they take actionable steps to improve their health?
Improvements that you will see as you're taking those steps are like more energy. That is a huge one. Less joint pain. I have less joint pain when I don't eat inflammatory foods. So, I mean, just, try these things out and use yourself as a case study. One of the things I want women to understand is how to become aware. A lot of women are so busy, and they're so busy taking care of everyone else, that they don't connect the dots between what I eat and what I do and how I feel. That's huge right there. But okay, so energy, joint pain is lower blood pressure, your outlook on life is better. You start experiencing better quality sleep. The scale actually is the least important metric to determine overall health. It's just not a good metric to do that. And I encourage people to chase health, and all the other things will follow. You don't want to be chasing the number on a scale, because you might be losing muscle. And that's not going to look good either. Chase health and everything else will follow. I know a number of people who they weigh themselves every day. Yeah. And that can lead to bondage. And this journey is not about that. Yeah. You change from the inside out when you're doing this hand in hand with God and how He's directing you. Yeah.
And He does not want us in bondage to a scale.
No.
I mean, that is not freeing, to be so attached. And that scale, I've been there. Mm-hmm. I've been there so many times where the scale is my identity, and that number is my identity. And if I would go up a pound, I would feel so defeated and just worthless. And then what did I do? I turned to food.
Right. It's like a vicious cycle.
I think really just to encourage the ladies that are listening, if this is you, to be encouraged that there is hope for you, that you can get off of that cycle, that does not have to be the rest of your life. You can get off of that cycle. There is freedom from that cycle. And that is some really good news, really good news. And I love that you said chase health first and everything else will follow. Oh,
Mhm.
I just think that's so good because we're not chasing a number. We're not
Yeah.
chasing a pant size. We're chasing health. And then these other things, they just start to fall into place.
If you chase health and you enjoy the journey, then you won't be so concerned about the scale because I'm enjoying learning how God created us, how things work, what this food will do to me and what that food will do. And you're able to enjoy the journey more. It's not so restrictive. And for anyone who deals with body image dysmorphia, I think is the term, that no matter what the number on the scale says, if God doesn't alter that inside of you, you will never be content.
Yeah.
It will always be, I've got to lose 1 more pound. I've got to lose 5 more pounds. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. So we just need to chase health and everything else will follow. When you're healthy, you look good.
Mhm.
Even if the number on the scale might be more than you want it to, you still look good
Yeah.
because you're healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think really that ties into our earlier conversation on stress. I mean, so if I can just ask a rhetorical question, if you're stepping on the scale every day or every other day or whatever, is that creating stress in you? Like, are you stressed? The thought of stepping on the scale, is it producing stress in you? I mean, that is an indicator of something. And man, there's just something. I feel like I could run a lap around my house. I'm so excited that women know that you can be free from that there is hope for you, and that does not have to be the end of your story.
And I think one way that women can determine if they are bound to that is if your emotions throughout the day rise or fall according to the number on the scale. If it affects your mood the rest of the day, if you start hearing those shame cycles, those whispers of shame in your head, then don't step on the scale anymore. Just enjoy the journey of making choices. That's so empowering.
Yeah, come
You
on.
know that you can make choices. You're not bound to that number on the scale. You're making choices. You realize, oh, I do have more energy. I can say yes to this opportunity that God's presenting to me, or I can be more involved with this community, or whatever it is. Those are those non scale victories that are way more important than the number on the scale.
So good, Julie. So good. Just really quick, you mentioned muscle.
Mhm.
Tell us just really briefly just the importance, especially for us women as we're getting older, but we do start to lose muscle really earlier on.
Mhm.
But just the importance of, strength training and having just lean muscle. I mean, I don't think any of us are out to be the next, model somewhere where
No,
we're flexing anywhere, but or at least I'm not.
I'm not.
But I do think, as I've gotten older, I better understand the importance of lean muscle and strength training.
I think it's hugely important.
Absolutely.
Even to this day, I still hear women say, "Well, I don't want to get bulky.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I don't want to do that." But more than getting bulky, muscle is a living organ in actuality. So muscles, they are a way that our body utilizes glucose without the need for insulin, even. And so I recommend to my clients to walk 10 minutes. That's been studied. Walk 10 minutes after every meal. If you can't get outside and walk, do it on a treadmill, or I've heard that even like 30 squats after every meal. And
Hmm.
one study that Dr. Casey Means talked about, she suggests that people who incorporate regular low-grade movement throughout the day have better metabolic health than those who exercise for one intense hour but remain sedentary the rest of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so, I mean, that makes me think back to years ago when our ancestors just that's what they did. They didn't go to a gym. Their lives incorporated movement
Mm-hmm.
with gardening, walking to the store, all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that study shows that just incorporating movement throughout the day, you need to do both, right? You need to do strength training in the gym or in your home, but it doesn't have to cost anything or whatever to walk,
Yeah.
right? Health requires intentionality. There's no place for perfection or comparison on this journey, but muscle will keep you independent. We both have parents who are aging,
Yes.
and I don't want to be so dependent that I have to have someone help me go to the bathroom
Or get up out of the chair.
or get up out of the chair. There are some things that we can't do as we age that we could have, but it doesn't mean that has to be the case. It doesn't mean aging. I don't like when people start saying, well, I am getting older. Yeah, but it doesn't have to be that way,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a 1-year-old grandson, and I'm expecting more grandkids. Do you hear that, boys? I want more grandkids, and I want to be able to have fun with them
Yeah.
and do things with them, keep up with them, have them overnight. My husband and I were still, my youngest is 16, and so we're not empty nesters yet, but I want to have a lot of energy to do things with my husband when we do become empty nesters, because we've been parents for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's gonna serve you well. It helps with hormonal balance. It helps with blood sugar regulation and just strength. So health and strength.
Mm-hmm. Very
Yeah.
good. Yeah. And I think to be encouraged and maybe talking about strength training, we could do a whole separate conversation on that. But
Mhm.
I think to be encouraged that, if this is something that somebody is willing to begin to step into, we're not talking about go grab the 20-pound weights right off the bat. I mean, you can start with even 5 if that's what you feel like you can do, to have some resistance there. But man, I think that, and we're going to get into this here, but just one step, it might seem like it's such a small step, or does it really matter? Like, it matters.
Right. It matters.
It really matters. And I
Yeah.
think that, you brought up walking. I think that walking has been so underestimated, the power and the fruit of that it bears in our lives. Walking, I just can't say enough about
Well,
that.
sure. If you can do it outside, you're out in nature, which has been shown to reduce stress when you're
Mm-hmm.
out in God's creation, and it reduces stress. So it has a lot of different benefits.
Yeah. Well, we've established a good foundation so far in our conversation. And I know that we've already offered our listeners some realistic, actionable steps that they can take even starting today. But is there anything else that comes to your mind that you feel like you want to add?
I have a few with my clients. One of the first things I start with is I want them to start prioritizing protein first thing in the morning when they wake up. The RDA recommends zero point 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. That is the bare minimum to avoid disease. I think they're recommending now like 1.2 grams per kilogram of ideal body weight. Sometimes that can feel like a full-time job getting all your protein in, right? But if you
Mm-hmm.
start with protein in the morning, it sets you up for success with blood sugar regulation. Protein brings a lot of satiety, so you can ward off cravings, like you're not raiding the refrigerator at the 10 o'clock morning break or whatever. It helps you stay fuller longer, especially if you add a little bit of fat to that. So that's one thing I do. And then something I've noticed in myself, hydration. I can be in a bad mood, and I'm not kidding. I will just fill my Yeti or whatever up with ice water. And it's almost like it just changes things. I can't explain that per se, but hydration is huge. And I
Yeah.
think sometimes we just take it for granted. Or we
Yeah.
say, well, I drank a pop today. Does that count? No, it doesn't
Yeah.
count.
Yeah. Right. Right.
So we talked about, the exer doing something for 10 minutes after each meal, breathing. My grandma, my dad's mom, like decades ago, she read it in Reader's Digest, and I didn't take it to heart, but it's true. I find myself not breathing deeply throughout the day because I'm always doing this, doing that, running here, running there. But she talked about, and this is what I learned too, is that when you take deep breaths from your diaphragm, it helps you get into more of that parasympathetic state, which is the opposite of the fight or flight. The parasympathetic state helps you be calm. It's actually called the rest and digest state. Your body is in a place where it can do those functions, because when you're stressed, your body kind of shuts down the non-essential things that they're focusing on keeping you alive versus the digestion or reproduction or whatever. But when you're in that parasympathetic state, you just bring yourself to a better place. And I recommend doing that before each meal and sitting down at the table with your family or a friend, whoever you eat with, but not eating distracted,
Mm.
not eating in your car, not eating standing up. There have been times where I was eating and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I just shoved that food in my mouth. I don't know how my body's going to digest that.
Right.
So that, and take time for hobbies and community, because who you eat with and enjoy a meal with is just as important as what you eat. Community is huge because loneliness and isolation, that presents a whole different set of symptoms and health issues and
Yeah.
all of that. So find community. You
Yeah.
can find community to go for walks, find community to share a meal with you once a week. We eat together every evening. I grew up with that. My parents had us all 8 of us sit down and eat a meal together, which was interesting. So I kind of brought that into my own family, and I definitely want it to be on Sundays, a big dinner, and we just enjoy one another.
Hmm. Yeah. So good. Really. And those are so practical.
They're practical and they're free, Susan. And
Yes.
they're deceptively simple because
Yes.
we're used to, like, it's got to be harder. Or there has to be more than that. But those are really pivotal points to start.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So really what we're saying is we don't have to make it complicated. And I think that so often we make it more complicated than it needs to be. I mean, these are so simple, they're free, they're accessible to anybody.
Mhm.
And, you can tweak them for your lifestyle and your needs. And I just, so good, so practical. I feel like women listening, I mean, even myself, and I mean, I know these things, but it makes you feel like, okay, I can get in the driver's seat here and I can take control of my health. I can
Yes.
do something. I don't have to be a victim to this. I can turn this thing around. Oh,
Yes.
so good.
And like I said earlier, I want women to start becoming very aware of their bodies, to what they do, what they eat, and how they feel.
Yes.
Because if I can connect, I can't eat that candy bar. If I can connect it to, I always feel sick after I eat that, then I will more than likely choose not to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So good. So good. So, as we're wrapping up, speak to the woman listening who feels overwhelmed in life right now. And the mere thought of taking even one step just feels hard. I mean, we've kind of been talking about that anyway, but
Yeah.
it's not lost on me that there might be a woman, maybe a few of them listening, that just feels like it isn't that I don't want to do this. I just am so overwhelmed.
Yeah. Well, I know as women, we spend a lot of time taking care of other people and putting other people's needs first. And I don't think, like, some women might feel rejuvenated by going to get a manicure or a pedicure. That's not me, you know? But you need to find something that does energize you, that does make you feel empowered in your health journey. Do what you can. Nothing is wasted. And I even have a client where she's like, I can't walk. She lives on an acreage and there's no sidewalks in her little area, but she went and bought one of those machines where she can sit down and pedal. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
She pedals on that while she's watching one of her favorite shows, and she's been experiencing lower numbers for her diabetes.
That's awesome.
You might not be able to walk, 10 miles and whatever, but do what you can where you're at. And I do also want to mention for like midlife and beyond, when we start seeing the estrogen decrease, our adrenals take over, and our adrenals deal with a lot of our stress hormones. Even if you could and had the capability to go do a 2-hour HIIT session, high intensity interval training, that's not where we're at,
Yeah.
right? So don't focus on what you're not doing. Focus on the things that you are doing. I'm all about adding things into your life instead of overwhelming you or even taking things out.
Yeah.
Because the more you put into your life, the less opportunity there will be for bad habits or things that we don't want.
Yeah. So good. So good. I just also have it on my heart to speak to the woman that maybe feels defeated because you've started and you've stopped and life just keeps happening and it just has left you feeling defeated, and so I'm just going to give up and it's just never going to work for me. I just want to speak to you today. I want to speak to your heart. I want to encourage you today that you can overcome in this area, that again, like I said earlier, there is hope for you. You don't have to be the statistic. You don't have to be the one that it doesn't work for. And I know just from my own experience in being at a healthier place in my life and then becoming a caregiver 4 years ago, and then just this last year being very, very difficult and my health really declined, and just thinking about what I had lost, it was like a very grieving to me. And I looked at myself so often and wondered, how did I get here? How did I let this happen? And all of that shame and all of that
Yes.
condemnation. And I know that whoever this is for, I know that you get it. I know that this is what you're thinking and this is what you've been feeling and struggling with. And so I just want to speak to that. One of the things that really helped me with that is when I asked God to help me. And I invited him into those thoughts and those feelings that I was having. And he helped me to see that if I changed the narrative from I have to start all over again to I get to begin again. Those are two different things. They feel different. One feels very defeated. One feels very empowering. And so I just want you to know, whoever you are, that you can begin again. And because maybe life has happened, that doesn't mean that you are a failure. That's not who you are. You can begin again. And we're championing you forward and we believe in you. We're believing for you. And then my final thing I would say is, if you allowed yourself to just sit and dream and see yourself in the future, if you can just allow yourself 2 minutes to just think about and see yourself as a healthier version. What does that look like? What would you say yes to? What would you do? How much more active would you be? Would you be sleeping better? What are those things? And I think that I speak for Julie, and we just want to encourage you that those things are attainable and they're possible. And so be encouraged today that God is for you and he wants to help you. And so, Julie, thank you so much for joining us this week. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. I know that this added value to your life. And just remember that you matter, your life matters, and your health matters. I hope that you have a great rest of your week, and we'll catch you right back here next week. Thank you for joining the conversation this week. I hope you'll join us again next week. And if you're new here, a big welcome to you. I humbly encourage you to follow and to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. A new episode is available each and every Wednesday. It's free to subscribe. It's free to follow. I won't bother you with any annoying emails. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Susan Vandenhoevel to be encouraged throughout the week and updated on future ministry events.